Just do the minutes first. Does anybody have any changes or corrections to the minutes that I sent out? If not, can I have a motion to accept the minutes as prepared?
I move we accept the minutes as prepared.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, everybody? Okay, good. Now, we'll go right to Dan's request that we start the meetings with a pledge of allegiance. I have no problem with that at all. As an immigrant, as a naturalized American, I'm proud to pledge allegiance to the flag anytime at all. So does anybody have any problem with that?
I would prefer to wait until we meet in person because Zoom is not my favorite way of communicating and it's just going to add length to the meeting. But once we meet in person, I'm 100% behind it.
Well, Jean, I actually researched it and it's 31 words and it takes the average person 12 seconds to say it.
Good for
So-
you.
So does anybody else have any problems with it? No? Dan, you want
No.
to speak about it?
I'd just like to say it as a veteran myself. I'd like to, all the boards and committees I'm on, they say the Pledge of Allegiance. Town meeting says it. The town council says it. The school committee says it. Why can't we say it?
We can say it. So why don't you lead us in it? Do we have to stand up? That's the only thing.
Can stand. There we go.
Oh, good, you brought a
Thanks for the
flag.
flag.
I have my flag, yes.
Okay,
Okay, here we go. I pledge
All right.
allegiance
Allegiance.
to
to
the
the
flag
flag of the
Flag.
United
United
States of America
America.
and to the republic for which it
For which it
stands,
stands, one
Nation.
nation,
Under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty and
liberty
justice for
justice
all.
for all.
Thank you very much.
We're gonna have to practice singing together as a group, I think.
That internet lag is going to make for some pretty tough synchronization.
Okay. Now, under finance, I just kept that from last month to just because Jen had a question about the organizations. Jen?
Sure, yeah, I was kind of thinking over this month, I was just curious, I'm not familiar with two of the organizations, so I was just wondering if you could just kind of give a high level of what the organizations were and kind of what we should maybe as individuals should be learning from them and kind of what the important parts are. Since I emailed you, I did go on the website for, say, the Preservation Mass and signed up for the newsletter and kind of dug around there a little bit. But I just wanted to kind of hear your thoughts on those organizations and the things that they do.
Well, Preservation Massachusetts has, it advocates for historic preservation, which is exactly what we do. And our $50 organizational membership fee just lends a modicum of support to their goals. They have among other things, they have a preservation directory, which helps people find if you've got a historic house and you're looking for someone who specializes in a specific trade. They have a list of them. It's a way for people to advertise their trades. They're not necessarily saying these are the best people, but it gives people a jumping off point. And also It's just a really good preservation organization. And the American Association of State and Local History is just that. And it is, once again, advocates for preservation and historic topics, and has a wealth of information available to member organizations, but you can only get it once you belong to the organization, which we've never done before. So we'll find out. So,
Okay, yeah, thank you. I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on those organizations. Thank you.
okay. All right. And I want to take historic house markers and talk about those kind of out of order. I forgot that our meeting was on Tuesday, since it's been on Wednesday forever and ever. So I was like, at the very last minute, like 11:30 one night, I remembered, oh my God, if I don't post the meeting right now, it's not going to be legal. So I put I just used the bullet points from the agenda from the month before. We've actually had an application for a historic house marker by John Peltier at 1 Howard Street in Wakefield. His house was built in 1899. It was originally numbered as 9 Grafton Street until they changed made an addition to it and changed where the front door was. The house was built in 1899, so it does qualify for our historic house marker. So I just wanted to let you know about that. Does anybody have an objection to that? Okay. Okay, good. So I'll send his check in to get his historic house marker. And we might as well just go toward our it's hard to think that I could lose things right here on my desk, but I seem to have done that. The historic house marker flyer that we wanted to have stuffed into the MLD bill. Fran has called the MLD and arranged for the stuffer to be placed into the light bills. So 12,000 of them will be going out to homes throughout Wakefield. We usually have the Wakefield item do the printing, and then they deliver it to the vendor who actually does all the stuffing. So that's what we have done in the past. And so they need the finished draft by November 1st in order to approve it. And I've sent you the draft. Did you have a chance to look at it?
I took a look. I didn't see any issues with it.
Neither did I.
No, I liked it. I thought it was very straightforward,
Yeah.
the two options. I like that a lot.
Good. It gives people an opportunity to get their house placed on the list, and it tells them right in it, that their house will be offered a measure of protection against complete demolition by some future owner by providing a six-month delay to seek an alternative solution. So there may be people who will nominate their own property for the list, which would be great.
Long as
And
they
if
have
not-
some, long as they
Yep.
have some proof, long as they have some proof, that's okay. Yeah,
Yep, it says right on it that properties must be at least 100 years old to qualify, and any additions are at the sole discretion of the Wakefield Historical Commission.
yeah. Good.
Yep. So can I have a motion to approve the flyer?
I make a motion to approve the flyer for the gas and light insert.
Great.
I
Second,
second that.
any discussion outside of that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, good. Now we'll come to our list of historic sites. So you guys have been busy driving around. Jen, you have gone to 160 sites,
About, yeah.
and how was that?
Um,
Huh.
I liked it better than my kids in the back seat, I'll say that. It was interesting. It was a lot, it was a lot of properties, but honestly, it was a great exercise for someone who's newer to the commission. I saw parts of Wakefield I've never seen before. I kind of went into parts of streets around my neighborhood, dead ends that I've never gone down. And I went down to see one house and it was gorgeous. And I was like, "Oh, I've only been living by this house for 3 blocks away for 10 years and I've never seen it. And it's on the list and it's gorgeous." I'm happy to report that almost all of the structures, from what I can see, are still standing. There's a couple in my list that there's a couple no's, but I thought it was actually overall a pretty good exercise to get familiar with the houses. Oh, the structures, because there were some commercial properties too.
And that's great. I have to say that when we were doing the preservation plan, the preservation planning guy had me drive around Wakefield, eyeballing other properties to possibly put on the list in the future. And my daughter went with me. And so she became a preservation expert too. And actually she majored in historic preservation. And thankfully has found other gainful employment after that. So that's great. And it's a two-step process, because first we see if a structure is on the site. And then we're going to have to go back and then for each one, make sure it's not a new structure. Because the chance does exist that the house or building was demolished or burned down or something, and then was later replaced. So it's a pretty easy process to go back and double check the dates of the existing structures though. So that was great that you made a big start on it. And those of you who chipped in to help at the last minute as well. And Therese, you still have half of your list to go.
Yeah, I probably have about half, and I refuse to bring my son with me, which is probably why I'm not done yet. But I wasn't gonna do that. But yeah, I mean, like Jen was saying, I've only been in Wakefield for like since 2019, and then the pandemic started, so I really don't know Wakefield well at all. So I also like, I didn't even know where like a lot of the streets on my list were. So I think that was really helpful to just kind of drive around and get a better idea of Wakefield itself. And like she was saying, some of the houses, like the older houses, are like absolutely beautiful. And I didn't even, know that they were there, until I drove by. But yeah, some of the streets on my list are like a little busier, and I'm not sure how Jen did it, but like I'm not like the best driver in the world. So I feel like I was annoying lots of people because I just kept like pulling over and like driving really slow. And I don't know, it's just kind of have to figure out what I'm going to do. I mean, there's definitely some streets I could walk, which would make it a little easier. But yeah, I'm about halfway through, and I actually found it like a lot more enjoyable than I thought I would. I don't know why. I just to be honest with you, probably the fact that I didn't bring my son with me was really, and just to be alone in the car for a little while is rare. So yeah, I should be able to finish up my list, I would think, in like the next couple of weeks. So
Okay, well, there's no urgency to it. It's great. It's really great that we are getting this update to it. It's something that we've talked about doing for a long time. And yeah, and hopefully we'll be adding more properties to our list. As I've been driving around, I mean, you see things that I think, oh my God, I can't believe they did to that building, having been, kind of in quarantine or whatever for a long time. I'm shocked to see some of the things that have happened. And then I've been pleasantly surprised to see what people have done to some houses too. The house that I really thought was going to go down was the one that's right next to the First Baptist Church on Lafayette Street. I thought it was for sure it was going to be knocked over, and they're restoring it, and it looks great. So there are some good surprises, happy surprises too, and maybe we'll get more properties on our list as well. So we'll touch base on this again next month. Okay. Frank went on a little mystery tour as well, finding houses.
I did actually. And interestingly enough, I had basically the same positive findings that Jen and Therese had found. It was nice to get to know some of the areas of Wakefield that I otherwise would not have any other reason to go for. And luckily I didn't have any children in tow. I just went to McDonald's, I picked up a coffee and just went cruising, and it was great. Good story to come out of it. I actually went down to one of the properties on Fairmount, and to find out that one of the addresses I was going to look at was one of the houses that I previously worked on as a mason. So and I
35.
had no clue that the house was on the list. So that was pretty cool to find out. But I don't know if any of you had seen my reply to the email chain. I was able to knock out the rest of those properties that you had listed, Jen, with the exception of a few on Broadway due to the construction mess that is going on over there.
Yeah, I actually tried to go around today and get stopped by the police. And we ended up, having to back up and rolled out the windows, and he's talking to my kids, and it was great. It was awesome. He had kids too. And then we kind of tried to go around, and then I tried to I was like, should I go down Broadway? I'm like, no, I can't run into him again. Like, I'm just not going to do Broadway.
Yeah, I thought about just hopping out of the truck, but right when I got to where I couldn't go any further, that point on Broadway, the brain picked up, and I said, yeah, I figure, so you can't walk in this, so forget it.
Maybe an idea for the future might be devising some sort of a driving tour of Wakefield. Just think about it, put it in the back of your head and see if anything pops out. Years and years ago, there was a pamphlet, a driving tour of historic Wakefield, which was great. But from your experiences now, from driving around, maybe there's a way that we can come up with some kind of a driving tour for those who aren't that physically fit. And another thing that I've been thinking about for a while, and there are several of you that live in Greenwood. Jean does, and Frank, I think you do too, and
do.
Mark.
Yep.
All of you are in Greenwood. It would be great to have a walking tour of Greenwood neighborhoods. So I know, Jean, you're a great walker. Think about that. We can think about coming up with a route maybe over the winter, and maybe by the springtime we could have a little online walking tour of historic Greenwood. Greenwood, I've always found to be confusing because of all the streets that are named Greenwood. Greenwood Street and Greenwood Avenue, and yeah.
I've often wondered, how did Greenwood become Greenwood? What's the history behind the name?
There's all kinds of, there was a lot of Greens that lived there. So Greens, Woods, and they had the pleasure droves.
The thing
Cross
was,
tracks to Boyntonville.
Well, Boyntonville was, that was another term for it. There were all kinds of terms for Greenwood.
wasn't the original occupant of the area, was it Nathaniel Green, and his house stood somewhere along where like Cooper Street spat out on the main?
There were lots of Greens. There are so many Greens. And then there's the 133 Greenwood, the 3-color house that was owned by a family named Brown and Green and White. So little nuggets of history tucked here and there, although you might be killed trying to drive or walk up and down some of those streets because they're thoroughfares from what I can see. But anyway, just another idea. So just think about it.
Good idea.
Yeah, because surely, Jean, at least you are an expert on Greenwood, having walked around so much there.
Well, I've walked around. I wouldn't exactly say I'm an expert, but I love this area.
Yep, and you know what's an old house and what isn't.
Oh, of
So,
course.
yeah, and you could just start with our list. But they're all named Greenwood, so I don't know. But anyway, just an idea.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, after that, I wanted to also let you know about the burying ground tour is this Friday. It's virtual. If any of you want to go on it, you're welcome to. I'll send you a link. It's a webinar kind of thing, especially for those who might be new and have not experienced much time in the old burying ground or know much about its history. It might be something that you might like to do. So it's going to be this Friday night at 6:30 p.m. and it will be on Zoom. And I'm very happy to say that my friends at WCAT are going to help me to make sure that I get it off the ground properly, because I get to be a little nervous sometimes about Zoom things. Just putting in the host key this time made me nervous. So anyway, so that's this Friday.
I'd be happy to attend that.
Great. Well, I'll send you a link and just hop right on.
Okay.
Do you need to register?
No, I mean, you're registering with me. So I mean, I'm going to send you the link anyway. I'll send it to everyone on the Historical Commission. So just in case you want to go.
Yep.
So the burying ground tour has had me pretty busy for the last little while. So that's really all I have. I did hear that a member of the Vision 2030 findings group was going to recommend that the town try to enact the Community Preservation Act, Dan, that you've been talking about for this little while. So maybe that will happen. And if it does, that has to go to town meeting to be approved.
Third time is the winner.
Third time's the charm, huh? Okay. All right. Well, we'll be waiting to see if that develops and if it would actually pass through the town meeting this time. It got pretty soundly rejected the previous times, but you never know. It's a new generation in the town right now. So anyway, that's all I have. Does anyone else have anything?
So Dan, are you involved in the Vision 2030 and kind of speaking
No.
for? No, oh, okay, all right. Because I was gonna say I just finished a book that I think that folks who are kind of thinking about this might be interested in. It's a short book, and it kind of talks about the importance of historical places. And it's like, here's 12 reasons why historical places matter. And it's a wide range, and it's a good book that I thought I'd pass on to them, but maybe through another channel.
Yeah, well, send everybody the name of the
Okay.
book. I was interested in seeing on the Preservation Mass website that the guy who did worked with us on the preservation plan has actually written a little book, and it's being advertised on the Preservation Mass website. So I thought I would get it, and then if it's any good, I'll pass it around to you guys as well. Anyway, so that's it. I actually was on the Vision 2030 committee. So that's just on the committee, not doing anything, but I just thought, since you asked Dan if he were, anyway.
Oh, okay.
My
Well,
my
yeah,
wife
I'll send
calls-
it to you.
I was.
I'll send it to you if someone wants to borrow it. I finished it. If you want to read it and pass it around. It was interesting, and I think that it would be a good book for any town councilor or a person who's part of the vision to take a look at.
That's a good idea, and it's always good for us to try to get new ideas of ways to make people more aware of our historic built environment and to try to preserve it. So
I know, Nancy, I know years ago on WCAT, you had made quite a few videos on Old Time Wakefield, and I think it was a lot of what was it, the Pero collection?
yeah, we had, I made a lot of different programs on Wakefield. And I don't know what happened to them. I really don't know. You know, they moved the studio several times. They moved it. It was originally on Water Street, and then it moved to the Warren School, and then it moved to the Montrose School, and now it's at the high school. And of course, people were making programs all the time, and so there all these tapes kept accumulating. And I didn't have the masters of the program, but one of them at least one of them I have a copy of, I think, somewhere, which was one that I hope that I can find and have played on WCAT at some time. It was oral history interviews with Wakefield residents, including Mr. Leonard Baird. He started it off. Anyway, it was called Like It Used to Be, and it was quite a thing. It took me over a year to make it. So I'm pretty fussy, but and anyway, but so hopefully maybe someday that'll resurface and I can have that played again. And also another thing, which would be really fun for all of you guys to see, I think, is an old time silent movie called The Romance of Wakefield, in which people are driving around in cars, in 1920s cars and things like that. But we had one copy of it, and we had it made into from a film into a video, but the film being as it was made into a film backward. So they did it, so everything was like reversed. So then we had to find the original film and take it to the person again to have it made into a film. And it was a whole comedy of errors. Anyway, somewhere that thing exists. And
What's
would be
its
good.
title? What is the title again?
It's called The Romance of Wakefield.
Oh, okay.
Is that the one that actually shows the old Wakefield Park and the wall? You can see up above Chestnut Street.
I think it does. I think it does. It was Murray Young's father. Do you remember Murray Young and Don Young? Their father was a steeplejack, and he was the one who was involved somehow in the making of this film. And so they were the only ones in town that had the copy of it. And somehow we found it. We were able to resurrect it, and then I don't know what happened to it after that. So there's lots of stuff to do, lots of work. Anyway, Anyway, so anybody have anything else?
I actually had a question about the meeting that we attended a few weeks back, the
Oh,
multi-town.
yeah, how did that go?
It went very well. There was a lot of good information, but at the same time that people were presenting a lot of problems, but there weren't really very many solutions being brought up. Maybe Kathleen or Jen could kind of speak more on it, but the main thing that I was wondering was that I took a lot of really good notes. And I was wondering if, it was worth it for me to kind of just compile it all into like an email and kind of just send it off to you guys. So you kind of got a high level of what went on and what was discussed during the meeting. And maybe I can send it off to Jen and Kathleen first to see if they can fill in any gaps that I might have missed. And then we could send it off to the whole commission or whatever you might think would be the best.
I think that sounds like a great idea. You all went to this meeting.
Yeah.
This, for everyone else's benefit, this was a meeting that was called by the Linfield Historical Commission. And they invited the Reading Historical Commission and I think Winchester and maybe Middleton. I don't know. We have had these group meetings in the past. We kind of all have the same problems. Some of us are a little bit more along in some ways than other. Reading, for example, has several, or at least one, well-established historic district. And so they have an additional historic district commission. And sometimes for fun, I read the minutes of other historical commissions to see what everybody else is doing. And I see that some of them have staff. I'm like, good Lord. They have people that do things like mailings and things like that. But anyway, yeah, I think that would be a great idea since the three of you did go to it. Pool your ideas and share them with all of us. We would all benefit from that. And it's a great idea, Frank.
Great, thank you.
Great.
Anybody else? Okay, then. Well, then the meeting stops in record time.
Well, our next meeting is November 23rd. That is 2 days before Thanksgiving.
How do we feel about that?
Let's
That's
keep it on
probably
the
okay.
books. Yeah, and see if anything comes up, Nancy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
We can
So
always
we'll-
cancel it.
we'll pencil it in.
Yeah,
Okay, good idea. Okay, you never know what's going to happen in the meantime. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for coming and keep thinking about all coming up with good ideas and things that we can do together as a group to help.